or 2 weeks ago, we've done the conditional statements using the if, and basically what we call that as the selection structure. The conditional statement is what we know as selection structure. So basically you have like a quick recap on the if statement. So you have if a larger than or equal, let's say 10, and we have the colons are important. Print, for example, number larger than 10. Larger than 10. Else, then print number is lower than 10. So we call it selection structure because it's going to either select this statement or this statement, or block of statements if you have many similar thing here. So that's what we call selection structure. This part today we're going to do another part of what, let's say, call loop statements, and this is part one because we have two parts for loop statements. Part one, which is the subject today, so we're going to use the for loops. Part two will be the while loops. Main task for both of them is to repeat a certain statement several times, and whatever you can do with for, you can do it with while, and the opposite. However, there are tasks that are easier to be done with for. There are tasks that are easier to be done with while. For example, if you know how many times this task is repeated, let's say 10 times, 20 times, then for loop is going to be your choice. If you know, and that's what we call definite loop. Something you know how many iterations it will go. The while loop, if you don't know, let's say how many times this task will be taken, but you know a condition where to stop. Like let's say, for example, you keep subtracting values until you reach a negative value. So there is a condition to stop. And that's why we call it conditional loops. This while is conditional loops. Based on a condition, the while loop or the repetition will be terminated. Okay, so by the end of this lecture, we will learn how to write a repetition sequence using for loops. And there is a concept called traverse, a sequence of characters. Basically, for example, we have a text. My name, Mohammed. Traverse means that you go with this letter or this character, doing the other character and the other and that. So you examine all characters at once. That's what we call traversing. You are checking all characters at once, like each one at certain iteration. For example, we'll see an example today in the class. Write a string and then count how many E's are there, how many letters of E are there in that string. We'll use traversing to do that. And also in loops, there will be something called counting up or counting down. Basically, there is a counter. So when you do loops, say you have to do it for 5 times. So there is a counter that will go up to 5 times. You start from 1, you finish at 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or 0 to 4. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 5 times. 5 to 10, and so on. It doesn't matter where you start, where you end, as long as the number of repetitions is the same. That is what matters. But in our case, we are used to start, from either 1 or 0. Okay. So you repeat a certain action, a typical task like a data entry. Instead of writing, let's say, an input statement 100 times, write the input statement only once and put it inside a loop. Now, there are 2 types. When you know the number of times you need to repeat, so for a predefined number, and that's what we call a definite iteration. And this is where we use for. And there is the one that perform an action and the program determines it needs to stop based on a certain condition. And in that case, that's indefinite iteration. And one of the common mistakes when it comes to loops is getting stuck in a infinite loop. So you run a loop and you set the condition that if it's the number less than 0, you stop. But your number never gets 0, never reaches 0. So it will be going forever. So that's one of the mistakes that happen with loops. Good thing in for loops, we don't have that issue. And for loops, since it's definite iteration, I have my starting point, I have my ending point, and that's it. All right, so let's start with this example. It's like the basic example here, and we'll break it down into, let's say, what are the key components that you need to memorize. Okay, first of all, we have the for, that's the keyword. And here you set your counter. For example, here each pass, that's my counter. So counter, and in that example, it's each pass. Now there is a keyword in Python called range. And let's see how range functions. So I will do a column here for different values or commands for range. So range A. What will happen is it will return values 0, 1, 2, 3, all the way to A minus 1. So basically it says that create a list of numbers from 0 to A minus 1. Why A minus 1? Range A, give me a list of numbers, A numbers. Since you start from 0, then you have to finish at A minus 1. So range for example, range for it will be 1, 0, 1, 2, 3. I have 4 numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4. I started at 0, then I finished at 3. An important thing here, when you have range with only a single value, then the default starts from 0. That's one important point. You start from 0, that's the default. And you finish at that number minus 1. So that's the first, let's say, example of range. Another example, we have range A to B. Now here I defined my starting point. I start from A, then increment by 1, A plus 1, A plus 2, all the way to, similar to the previous example, to B minus 1. You will never reach B. You will never reach the value here. For example, range 3, 10, it will give me 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Clear how this range works? Now, the first one started from 0, it finishes at A minus 1. The second one, I started at A and it finishes at B minus 1. And notice in both of them, the increment is how much? 1. Each time increase by 1. 0, 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Is there a way to modify that? Yes, that's the third syntax for range. Range. And I'll call it A, B, step. So this one, you have A plus step, A plus 2 step, all the way to B minus 1. For example, or B minus, let's say, the value that's right before reaching the end. For example, range 1, 10, 3. I identified my initial point. I identified my final point and the step. So what will be the output in this case? What will the range return values? 1, 4, 7. Do I reach 10? Do I reach 10? Remember, B minus 1. So my maximum I may get is 9. So this one is out of this range, out of this loop. Now, how to confirm that? We'll put that in a printing statement like this example. I will do all examples for range. So for each pass, I'm gonna write this same thing exactly. And here print its value concatenation with a comma. And here is this syntax and equal, just to like give a separator between each iteration. It's an optional step. It's just a separator. So I'll open Spider. So the example was for each pass in range 4. Okay, print, okay, a string, its value is, and there is the comma, and you have, okay, let me check. Ah, it's alive. Okay, so it's not printing the value, it's alive. It's alive and equal, and you have a space. So let's see this one here. When you run it, you are printing it's alive 4 times. So it's now here, just it's alive. It is alive. Okay, so run it. I have it here. Now, what if I want to do it each one at a line? What do I need to do? The new line. So you can put here the new line. Try again. There you go. And by the way, in this case, with end equal new line, it becomes optional because automatically at each iteration, print will start a new line, if I recall well. Yeah. Okay, Control Z. Now, let's say I want to print the values. I want to print the values. Now here, range will return these values, 0, 1, 2, 3. And at each time, it starts with the value of each pass. So at the beginning, each pass value will become 0. The second iteration, each pass will be updated. It will become 1. The other iteration, you know what I mean by iteration? Like when you finish one loop, that's one iteration. Second iteration, third iteration, and so on. In this loop, I'm going to do 4 iterations because I have range 4. Now, we agreed range will give values from 0 to 3. Now, these values will be stored at each iteration and the variable each pass. So I'm going to update this code a little bit. The value of each pass is, I will not use the end. I'll just print each pass. Okay, so let's try now. So the value of each pass is 0, 1, 2, 3. So I'm printing the values in each pass. And by the way, there is a small command here, or small keyword is the word in. So saying that each pass in range 4. Range 4 will give me like a vector of 0, 1, 2, 3. Each pass will take values 0 for the first iteration, second iteration 1, third iteration 2, fourth iteration is 3. Now this one is the standard way of range with just one number. What if we have 2 numbers? So I will make it 1 to 4. Notice at the beginning, I started from 0. Now I'm forcing the start to be at 1. In this case, the loop will run for 3 times, 1, 2, 3, to never reach 4. 1, 2, 3. The last example, or another example, 3 to 10, without defining the steps. So this loop will be repeated about 7 times. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's the printing. But if you count each one of them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this loop is repeated 7 times. Now, in this case, see, if you want to do it the conventional way, you need to print the statement 7 times, but with the loop, with the right commands, the printing or the command of print, you have to write it once and you put it inside the loop. The last example we did was we started with 3, with 1, and my steps are at 3. And we claim that it will not reach 10. It will only print 147, right? So we'll give it a check. And there you go, 147. It did not reach 10. Last value in your loop here will never be reached at the standard. Is it clear? All right. Yes. 3 is the step size. So I started with 1, then add 3. Without this third value, the default is 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. But when you put that value 3, that's the step size. 1 plus 3 is 4, plus 3, 7, plus 3, and so on. So that's the step size. Okay. Okay, slideshow from current slide. So the general structure of the for loop, you have the keyword for and n and range. So those are all keywords in the for loop. Range, when we go with the strings, this becomes optional, this range thing. But n should be there. It says that go over, like create a loop over the values from this range command. The values in this range. So basically range will return a data type, what we call list. And actually range itself is a data type. For example, go back to Spider. Okay, X equal range 4. So let's examine the data type of X. It is range. And you don't have the freedom to access the values like in their standard way. So when you type X, it says it's a range from 0 to 4. Notice that 0 was being inserted by default. Range 0 to 4 is range 4 because I'm starting from 0. So what will be the best way to print the values within a range? It's either putting it inside a loop like this, or there is another data type called lists, a list. So basically, type list, and you put inside it the variable you want to display, the range. List X, it displays 0, 1, 2, 3. There are more about lists, inshallah, after the midterm. Midterm, I think you have already known, it's going to be next, not week, the week after, right? In 2 weeks. So it's going to be the 15th, I guess, the 15th. Within class time, location, we'll announce it later, inshallah. Okay, so we have the 4 and n, they should be there. Now this variable could be each pass, could be I, could be any variable that comes to your mind. For example, I prefer I as a counter. So for I in range 100, print I. In this case, your loop will just print all values between 0 and 99, including 0 and 99. 100 will be excluded. Okay, so in terms of terminology, this is what we call the loop header that determines the number of iterations the loop will pass. And this one, what we call is the loop body. And you can have as many statements as you want. And how to determine the loop body should be aligned with each other. Like in here, remember the indentation? If they are in the same space, then they are at the same for loop. We're indented. Okay, here's an example. Write a loop to compute the exponential for a non-negative exponent. Like 2 to the power 3, 2 to the power 4, 5 to the power 10, and so on. Just find like the power. We've seen that there is a command already there in Python to find the power, which is the double asterisk, right? Star star to find the exponent. Here there is another way to find the exponent. Basically, you multiply the number by itself several times. So you have number 2 and exponent 3. You technically multiply the number 2 by itself 3 times. Okay, for each pass in range exponent, product equal product times number. So this is not an exponentiation in the standard way. So this was saying you multiply the number 2, 4, 8, 2 times 2. Oh, yeah, it is. It's 2 to the power 3. Yeah, 2 to the power 3. That's the exponent. So for each pass in range exponent, product equal product times number. Let's break down the code. So we have the numbers. I have the number, so I want to compute 2 to the power 3. Now the computer doesn't, let's say, if you want to start the standard way, we have 2 times 2 times 2. In our case, like in our head, it's fine. It's easy. Like 2 times 2 is 4 times 3 times another 2, that's 8. But the computer doesn't do that like all operations at once. Remember the precedence rule. Like it's gonna do one by one. So first, you need to create a variable like a container that will accumulate these values. And in products, you start with 1. Why? Because any number when you multiply by 1 is the number itself. And next example, we'll do summation. In summation, what is the number like you start with? 0. Like you have an empty basket and you keep adding to it. Here you are multiplying. When you do multiplication, the number that doesn't have any impact in multiplication is the number 1. So I'll create this dummy variable called product. And I'll give it the value 1. And then for each pass in range exponent. So what is the value exponent? 3. So what will be the values given here? 0, 1, 2. Right? And each pass is my variable. So the values of each pass, 0, 1, 2. So I'm repeating how many times? 3 times. And that's what I'm doing. I'm multiplying 3 times. Now, initially, my basket is empty. Has only the variable 1. The value 1. Because I'm doing multiplication. So you multiply this product by the number, which is 2. So this is the job of exponent, to set the number of repetitions, and that's it. You're done with it. Now that number 2, I multiply it by the product, and I will do update to my product. And here is an important thing you need to understand in programming. Mathematically, if you say that x equal x times 2, is that acceptable in math? No. That's in mathematics when we deal with this as an equality sign. But this one, if you remember, what is the name? Assignment operator. Assignment. Anyways, assignment operator works by evaluate this, then assign it to that variable. So basically, the value of x initially was 1, and you multiplied by 2. The result of this multiplication is 2. Assign it now to the variable x. So the initial value for product was 1. Now it is updated to 2. In fact, it's better to do it as a table like this. So I will have a column for each pass. And the values for each pass, actually all loops work like this for 4 loops. So the variable 0, 1, 2, because those are the values of each pass. Now, what are the values I need to monitor? Just the product. Initially, what is the value of product? 1. That's the initial value for the product. Now that the first pass, when each pass is 0, you execute this line. So you have product equal product times number. What is the value of product? 1. The number is 2. It's a constant value. So 1 times 2, 2. Store that into product. So what happens here? This 1 will be gone. Now the value is 2. And there is no variables to monitor, so it's only 2 columns table. And this is just a printing statement, printing horizontally. So print product. Initially product, now the value is 2. Second pass, when each pass equal 2. When each pass equal 2, what is the value of product in this case? It is 2. Times, number is 2, is always constant. 2 times 2 is 4. So the variable here will be updated, it becomes 4. At the third pass, so I don't have 2 anymore, it is 4. 4 times 2, it is 8. So this one will be gone, and then 8. So at each iteration, we'll print the output. I have 2, 4, 8. Is it clear how this product thing works? Again, whatever we do here is just for illustrations. What I mean by that is, this is just an example to do exponentiation using for loops. And you can do it with the double asterisk. Just to show you how you do the for loops. Now, every loop is task specific, depending on the problem that you're asking. For example, write like a code that will find the average of 10 numbers being inserted by the user. So there's a repetition there by the user. It has nothing to do with this problem, but it's going to be the same. Like, you should know how to use for loop, and the rest is just logic. Problem solving, understand the problem, come up with an idea how to solve it, then you do the implementation. For now, just memorize the syntax. We will solve now problems and try to understand them logically. اللي هو each pass. Each pass, my counter is each pass. I usually call it I. Some references J. Some people call it double I. This is a dummy name. But for illustration, they call it for each pass. It's different than Java. Java, you have to do variable declaration. Here, we don't have to do that. Java, C, and all other languages, they need variable declaration. But in Python, and that's why Python is easy to use, there's no variable declaration.
It starts at 1 and increase to +1, so 4, then 3.
No, it starts at 0. That's the counter. Each pass starts at 0 because my range 3, 0, 1, 2, 3 times. The default starts from 0. It's, yeah, don't get it confused with Java. It's a bit different.
0, but then multiply by 0 to be 0.
See, that is the product. Product is initiated at 1. Because if you initiate it at 0, as you mentioned, it's going to be always 0. Every time you multiply with 0, it's a 0. What is the number that does not have an impact in multiplication? Is 1. Any number you multiply by 1 is going to be the same number.
Each pass will start at 0.
Okay. Yeah, each pass is not part of the loop. It's just a counter. Okay. Now, a loop that counts through a range of numbers. So here, pretty much like the previous example, but here it will do the product for you. So there is another name for this kind of code. Let's say if it was 1, what will be the output? 1. If it was 2, the output is 2. If it was 3, the output is 6. If it was 4, the output is 24. If it was 5, it will become 120. Do you know what function in math that will do this? Factorial. So basically, this is 1 factorial, 2 factorial, 3 factorial, 4 factorial, 5 factorial. Factorial, basically, you multiply the number by all the numbers below it. So factorial 5 equals 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. Or the opposite, 1 times 5, 2 times 3. And this is how the code is running. So you have the factorial of 4. Factorial of 4 equals 1 times 2 times 3 times 4. And notice each time you multiply by a number higher than the iteration. So this is at iteration 0, iteration 1, iteration 2, iteration 3. And that's why we have this count plus 1. And this is my variable here, the counter. So each time you multiply by the counter. So you initiate a dummy variable 1 to handle your result. And since it's production, multiplication, I start with 1. And that's it for count in range 4, product equal product times count plus 1. If I forget this plus 1, what do you think the answer will be? If I forget the plus 1, let's just follow the code. Product equals product times count. What is the value of product? 1. What is the value of count?
0.
See, my range 0, 1, 2, 3. So it's 0. Again, I'm assuming this one was not there. So 1 times 0, it is 0. Then at the second iteration, so this product is 0 times 1 is going to be 0. At the third iteration, this is still 0. This is going to be 1, 2. So the count now will increase, but the product has become 0 because of the first multiplication. Is there another way to solve it? Well, it's another way. To force a lower bound to start from 1, again, the most important thing about loops is the number of iterations. I'm multiplying 5 times or 4 times. So for example here, how many times I'm multiplying? I have 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 times. This one is the same thing, 4 times. But this loop starts from 0, and this loop starts from 1. So I don't have this count plus 1. I'll start with just count. So this is the code to write or to find the factorial of a number given to you. Okay. Now summation. So we've done multiplication. Now we'll do summation. A typical example or typical application for summation is to find the average of certain numbers given or input by the user. This example here is just do summation between A and B, numbers A and B. So you start with the lower bound as the user, and you have the upper bound. So you put 5 and you put 10, and just find the summation of all values between 5 and 10. Like the product, we start with this empty basket that starts with 1 for the product. For the summation, we'll start with an empty basket with 0, and we'll call it sum. SUM, if I recall well, is a keyword in Python. So let's give it the sum. The sum, like here. So we initiate for summation kind of problems, start with summation equals 0. For product kind of problems, you start with 1. Keep that in your mind. All right, now for the number in range lower to upper plus 1. See here, if I want to include the 5 and 10, I put 5, I put 10, so I'll put upper plus 1. So in this case, in my example, it's going to be 5, upper is 10, so this is 11. But in fact, it will count what? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, because I want 10 to be included, so I'll do this add plus 1. And actually, this is one of the common errors in loops, what we call off by 1. I want my loop to run 5 times, but it's running 4 times, or the opposite. Off by 1, like in this case, if you forget this plus 1 thing, and if you don't have it, now your loop is gonna count 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and it will stop. So you are off by 1 iteration. And the code for the summation is quite simple. So I'll start 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So initially I have my basket has 0. I will add 0 plus 5, then update the summation. So I will have this line, the sum equals the sum, the initial value 0, plus the number 5 in this case. Now my number is getting values from this range. Okay, so now it's no longer 0, it becomes 5. The second iteration. 5, the sum plus the number 6 become 11. So it is updated. It is 11. Third iteration, 11 plus 6, 17. Sorry, plus 7. So I'm done with the 6. Plus 7, I will have 18. I'm done. 18 plus 8, 26. Done. 26 plus 9, 35. Done. And then I will have plus 10, and I'm done with that. How to do it in a tabular way? Look at the loop and see what are the things affected by the loop. So first, I have my number change. Okay, number. And then the sum. Initially, the sum value is 0. So at the first iteration, now what are the values of number? If I assume I put 5 and 10, I will have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So those are my possible values for number. And this is what we call the first iteration, second iteration, third iteration, fourth iteration, fifth, and sixth. So there are 6 iterations in this loop. Okay, execute it. So you have the beginning, the sum, which is 0, plus number 5. So 0 plus 5 is 5. You get the result, you store it in the sum. So the 0 will be gone. Now I will have 5. The second iteration, I have 5 plus, now the number is 6. Store the results, 11. 5 is gone. Third iteration. So here I will have 7. Sorry, the sum is 11. And my number is 7, 18, 26, all the way to the same method that we got here. So always in this table, you put the variables affected inside this loop. I have the sum, I have the number, and only 2 variables. So for example, here, the lower bound is 1, the upper bound is 0. So you have 1 plus 2 plus 3 all the way to 10, and you will get 55. Okay. So let's expand this code to find the average of numbers between, let's say, this summation. Like this summation, I want to find their average. Let me do the code there in Spider and try to solve the problem. So lower equal integer input. Remember, we need to do data conversion. Enter the lower bound. Okay, and I'll put a new line for this one. And then upper equal integer input. Oops. Okay, enter the upper bound in a new line. And 4, I'll write the same statement for the summation, and we'll see how we can improve it to count the average. Number equal, for number in range, I have lower to upper plus 1. We agree why we have upper plus 1. Okay, no errors. Perfect. So I will have the sum equal the sum plus number. I noticed like there's an error. I did not put an initial value for the number, the sum, sorry. 0. And that's it. Print the summation is okay. The sum. Okay, let's run the code, see it functions well. So we started in the example 1 and 10, it's 55. Perfect. Now I want to find the average of these numbers. First of all, how many counts does this number? Say how many numbers are there? No, how many numbers? Like this loop. How many times it will run? Okay, if I put 1 and 10, right? Yeah, multiple times. But because I put 1 and 10, it will run 10 times, right? 1 and 5, 5 times. How did we get this 5 times? Okay, 6 to 5, 6 to 10. How many times? How did you count that? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now, why did I include the 10? Because I have this plus 1. All right. Is there like an expression I can represent it with this? Like you said, like I put 10, 6 and 10, it's 5. Is there a way to represent it in math? Like regardless of the lower and upper, is there a way to find the count? What if I write this expression? Count equal upper minus lower plus 1. Six to 10. 10 minus 6. 10 minus 6. 4 plus 1. 5. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Get it? Okay, how do you find the number of, let's say, values between a number to another number? Either you're not going to do one by one increment. You just upper minus lower. And because I'm including the upper, I will add 1. 10 minus 6, it is 4. But I'm including the 10 plus 1. And that's it. The average.
No, just subtract the
Huh?
ممكن تسوي subtract الأبر بدل ما تسوي add اللور ولا لا؟ يعني مثلا
Okay, I want to sum all the values from 5 to 10.
10 minus 1.
Okay, I want to sum all the values from 5 to 10, including the boundaries 5 and 10. So it is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's 6 numbers. How to get that from an easier expression is 10 minus 5. It is 5, but I'm including the boundary plus 1, that is 6. And that's it. Print. So the average, I'll put an expression AVG equal how to find the average? The sum divided by count. And then print the average as AVG. Okay, so let's have an example here. So lower bound, let's try with 5 and 10. Okay, so the summation is 45. Is that right? Yeah, it's like 5 plus 6 plus 7, whatever. And their average, 45 divides how much? 6? Yeah, so 45 to 6, 7.5. Let's try the same example with the 1 and 10, sorry. 1 and 10, 55, and this is 10 numbers, so 5.5. Okay, so let's see what is next.
Was 1 to 10, right?
Yeah, 1 to 10, summation 55.
So it's 11 numbers or
10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's when you start at 0, it's going to be 11 numbers.
oh. Total.
That's the main issue in programming, is the 0. Salam. Okay. Okay, The common error in loops is the off by 1. So for example, count from 1 to 4. We think, okay, you just put a loop for I in range 1, 4, and that's it. And the issue will be what? You'll count to 3, 1, 2, 3. Why? I'm off by 1. So keep that in mind. That's off by 1 error. What kind of error is that? Okay, we've done errors in the first lecture or the first lecture. So it was syntax error, runtime error, or logical error. And we know the difference between them. Syntax error, your code does not run. Runtime error, based on some certain values, some issues might face the code. And logical error, there is no issue with the code. The issue is with your logic. In our case here, I'm off by 1 because of my logic. So that's a logical error. The off by 1 is a logical error. Now dealing with strings, traversing a string, a contents of data sequence. So for example, here we've done that the range itself is a list of numbers, but it is itself a data type. To display the values within that range, I have to put the range within a command list. So if you put list range 4, it will return 0, 1, 2, 3. We'll talk about lists later, inshallah, after the midterm. Now list range 1 to 5. You start at 1 and finish at 4. Also, strings could be treated as a series or a list of characters. And I can traverse that series of characters. For example, in this case, I will not put the range command because the job of the range is to give me the list of numbers. Now I have the list of characters already provided. So you just do for I in no range and the string. So the string is, let's say, called name. So for I in name, and then you do whatever task. For example, for character in hi there. So this character will have values from hi there. Each character at once. The first iteration is the letter H. The second iteration is the letter I. The third iteration is the space. The fourth iteration is the letter T, and so on. So that's what we call traversing. Basically, for loops, you are traversing through either a list or a string or a series of characters. So in this example here, you have for character, that's your variable, that has values in this list. And each time you print the character at each iteration along with the space. So the first iteration is hi, H, I, space, T, H. So actually this is better to be represented actually not with the end. It's like each line by itself. For example, for character, I'll call it CHR is a reserved word. So for character and hi there, print character. Okay, and you'll see the output HI space THIR. If you want, let's see. Okay, the length of the characters. Oh, no need for that example. Let's keep it as simple as this. All right. If I ask you, find the number of the letters E in this statement. Like run the traversing over each character. If the character or if the letter is E, add a counter. So initially start with no E's. My counter, I have no letters E. It's 0. Then go to the string character by character. If the letter is E, increase the count. If not, do nothing. If statement. I said it. If not. So there is an if statement. So here I will remove this printing character. It does nothing. And if I don't want to remove it, I will just comment it. Okay, if character equal the letter E, then I said I'll start with a counter equals 0. So pretty much like the sum. So initially I will initiate a variable, the sum equals 0, and the sum equal the sum, how much increments I will do? Plus 1. So if the character is A, add the counter by 1. Okay, if the character is not A, do I need to do an else? Else is optional in this case. So there's no need to do an else. And that's it. Now, be careful here. And now I'm still writing in the if statement domain. How do I know? From the indentation. Backspace, I'm back in the for loop. Another backspace, I'm out of the loop, out of everything. And print, I'll just put the sum. I will not write any guiding message. So in this case, how many letters E are there? 2. Is it clear how you count characters in a certain string? Because that's a logical operator. If there is no E, if only one, that's an assignment operator. Logical operator, check if they are equal. If it's only one, make character equal E. So it's no logical operation. Get the point? So see, we have, remember, summation, multiplication, subtraction, and so on. That's the mathematical operation. You've been here 2 weeks ago. So there is the logical operation, larger than, less than, equal, and so on. So here I'm checking, is this character equals the character E? So the logical operator, to differentiate equality from the assignment operator, I use the double E. Double E means that, sorry, double equal. The double equal, it says that, are they equal? So that's a question mark. If yes, execute this line. If no, look for the else part. There's no else part, done, nothing. And even here, in the good thing now, it's telling you that's invalid. In Java, it will work and will give you an error. It will do the assignment in Java. So here, run invalid syntax. Here you must have the double equal. The checking. You are checking if they are equal or not. And I think that's the example of this one. Write a code to ask the user to input a string, then count how many letters of E are there. Now I want to input the string. So I'll call it text equal. Do I need to do convergence? I'm inputting a string, so there is no need to integer or float. Input. Okay. Enter your name. Okay. And here I'm checking what? For character in what? Where is my string? And the variable text. So I'm checking text. Let's run. Okay, enter your name. I'm gonna put my full name. Muhammad Qasim Farhan Al-Khatib. Only one A at the beginning, at the Muhammad. Another name. So let me put a new line for just to be organized. Okay, hello. Oopsie. So your name, hello there. I am using Python. It is fun. Whatever. All right. How many E's are there? 1, 2, 3, 5. Check. It is 5. At whatever there is 2. There is 2, and hello, there is 1. Okay. What if I want to count the number of vowels? There, you know what vowels are? ممتاز. Okay, so do I need to do an if statement for each one of them? I can remember when we have multiple conditions, we have the and or whatever, right? So here, what will be the proper operator? And or? Or. If the letter is E or A or. So here, how to write the syntax? I'll go back to my condition. F character equal E or like this. Okay, or U or A or E. E is a vowel. Okay, we put the E, I, U, O. Will it work?
Yes.
Let's check. Enter your name. I'm gonna put the same thing here. 53. Does that make any sense? اه 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13.
Maybe the character are not different.
لا, there's a mistake in your code. Say it.
Each statement should be a number. If character equal I, if character equal.
الله بشفع لك تأخيرك هذا بس. Our condition is incorrect. Remember, each condition must have like a sub-condition. So if character equal E, that alone is a condition. Or another condition, character equal O. Or another condition. So I cannot have or E or I or whatever. No. So each condition should be individual. So I'm going to fix this error. So here, if character equal E or character equal I or character equal U, K or character equal A. Good thing about Python, can continue if I recall well. Oh, لا. Okay, probably after the or. Character equal A or character equal O. So let me see where my incorrect, invalid syntax. Probably yeah, I cannot separate it. Or I wrote a wrong name, so I'm gonna copy and paste. Okay, there you go. Yeah. No. Control Z. Off. I cannot separate it. So it has to be in a single line. So let's check. Character E, character equal I, character equal U, character equal A, character equal O. Let's try the summation. And where was the line I used? Hi there. I'm using Python. 30. Now it's kind of a logical number. Let's examine the text. I'm gonna do it one by one. So I have the first letter E.
1.
O. E. E, that's 4. I. Is it counted? Let's leave it for now. U. That's 5, right? 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. 10. 11. 12. 13. Now, why didn't I take I? It's case sensitive. Python is a case sensitive language. So you cannot have I equals uppercase I. How to solve this?
Equal E. Uppercase.
No, there is another one. First, change all your string to lowercase letters. So if I recall well, there is a command called lowercase. I'm not sure if I'm correct or not. No, there's no command there. But there is a command in Python, I'm sure of that. Lowercase a string in Python. Lower. So there's a command called lower. Okay. Nope. So probably there's a dot lower, yeah. Okay, now we'll try it. Should get 14. Control C, Control V. There we go, it's 14. Now initially I put the string as it is, convert it to lowercase letters to include both uppercase and lowercase, then I did the count. By the way, this is not a requirement from you. We'll go into string operations again after the midterm, inshallah.
دكتور يعني شو الطرق انه كاركتر واحد او نحط اكثر؟
On?
ليش اول مره طلع من 50؟
Okay, initially it counted all characters.
في كونديشن انه
No, the condition, the proper way to write the condition by doing subconditions. I have this compound statement. So character equal E, that's a single condition. Or another condition, the character equals O. Or another condition. So you cannot have by syntax I or E or E. It will return something probably different from. So probably if you do it like this, I or C. So it returns letter I. So it's not either true nor false. But I'm asking you the question. See, that's the thing. It's not the standard way that we do. So stick to the proper syntax. Like here, when you say I or C, what does that mean? I myself don't have an idea. Okay. Okay, so this is about the range. We talked about it already. Range expects a third argument that allows you to specify the step value, the step size. The default is 1 if you don't put any value, but if you have 2 and 3, it will have it there. Okay. If you look at this code segment, what do you understand from it? If I gave you this code and I'll tell you express this code in text, what does this code do? This one here. Okay, first of all, it's summation problem, right? The sum equals 0 for count. That's the summation code we have done. But what are you adding? Not exactly 1. If you look for count in range 2, 11, 2. What does this range 2, 11, 2 will give? Why? I have step size equal 2. I'm starting from 2 and I'm stopping at 11. 11 is not counted, so I'll stop at 10. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Is there a name for these numbers? You are adding even numbers between 2 and 11. That's a summation of even numbers between 2 and 11. Okay. If I want to make it odd between 2 and 11, what is the modification I need to do? What are the odd numbers between 2 and 11? Which 2? The last? See.
Count and range 2, 11, 2. Change to 1.
Okay, so fix this one, make it 3 because I want to include the 3. Because 2 to 11, what are the odd numbers? 3, 5, 7. So the step size, you keep it. You do not change it.
After one, after one.
1, but I want between 2 and 11.
Okay.
1 is not included. So you need to start from 3. Again, based on the problem given, you have the modifications that you want. Now, write a code that will ask the user to input 2 numbers, add all values that are divisible by 6 between these 2 numbers. Say the keyword. خلاص اسكت. I'm asking you, write a code that will ask the user to input 2 values. Any 2 values, assuming that the first value is the lower bound and the other value is the upper bound. And add all values that are divisible by 6.
So the number modulus by 6 equal to 0, then
Why do you use modulus equals to 0? What does that mean?
that means yeah.
The remainder is 0. That means it's divisible. So let me write the code here. And let me write it in Spider to save time. Okay. I think I wrote a code for lower and upper bounds. Let me see if I have it. There we go. So I have my lower and upper, and let's include the upper plus 1. Okay, I have the summation and divisible by 6. Okay, so there's no average. So I remove this average thing. I have summation. If number modulus 6 equal 0, the sum equal the sum plus I'm not counting the numbers that I'm adding them. Well, counting them, what did I say? Counting them or adding them? Whatever the problem is. If I'm adding them, plus number. If I'm counting them, plus 1. So let's stick with counting them. Plus 1. And that's it. So the summation of numbers divisible by 6 is, and let's see. So let's lower bound start with 5 and finish at 50. How many numbers are there? 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36, 42, 48. 8 numbers. The modulus should equal 0, because that means that the number is divisible by 6. There is no remainder. If the remainder equals 0, that means the number is divisible by 6. All right, divisible of 6 and 5. Okay, where? And because I said and. No, not and. It's just a compound f. Number modulus 5. And that's it. So I made the condition that is divisible by 5 and 6. In this case, number. Okay, so in this case, I'll stick with the same bounds, 5 and 50. It's only 30, so that's only one value. Divisible between 5 and 6, only 30. Let's try from 1 to 100. It will be 30, 60, and 90. 3 values. Okay, you get the idea? Okay. Okay, now so far we've done loops that always adds up. You're counting up 1, 2, 3, 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on. Can you do the opposite? Can you start counting backwards? Yeah. But your initial value should be higher than the final value, and your step size has to be negative. That means I'm doing decrements, not increments like before, decrements. So in this case, I start from 10, I finish at 0, minus 1. Now remember, you start from that value. When you have incremental order, you subtract 1. Like from 0 to 10, you're actually doing 0 to 9. In here, 10 to 0, you're actually doing 10 to 1. So you have to understand this difference. So when you do the printing, 0 is excluded. Okay. So that's it. Control statements determine the order in which other statements are executed. Control statements actually is just a general word or general statement. They cover control statements. This one, it means F for while. Why we call them control statements? Usually in codes, the flow is first line, second line, third line. You don't skip lines. Now, when you do control statements, you either skip lines using the selection statement F, or you can repeat lines using the loops. So that's why we call them controls. You control the flow of the code. It's no longer line by line. You either repeat lines or you select lines. So they determine the order in which other statements are executed in the program. Definite iteration, that's what we did, is a process of executing a set of statements in a fixed, predictable number of times. In this case, the for loop. For loop consists of a header and a set of statements called the body, can be used to implement a count control loop. Range command usually is there unless we are dealing with strings. Can traverse and visit values in a sequence. A common error is the off by 1. That, let's say you forget the upper bound or lower bound when the loop does not perform intended number of iterations. There being one too many or one too few. Let me check something, this card and the set of files programming in Python. Nice 540 iterations. Extra the nice chat one. Set. All right, so I believe this is it for today. The quiz, inshallah, will be in 101. Stop sharing. Stop the recording. Saeed is with us. Saeed